Hi, I'm First Alert Chief Meteorologist Stephen Bowers. I've got a mountain snowstorm in my sights. It's going to bring a lot of wind to the high country too. It doesn't mean anything for us though here on the western slope. Where it could be problematic for you is if you have travel plans between the western slope and the Front Range. So let's dive into this. There are the high wind warnings in effect for the Front Range, mainly west of Metro Denver, but including some of the west side suburbs. But this does extend down the Front Range urban corridor to include areas around Colorado Springs and Pueblo, and it extends north through Fort Collins from 11 a.m. Wednesday until midnight Wednesday night. 30 to 50 mile per hour winds can happen fairly easily, and then gusts up to 80 miles per hour are a possibility. Let's talk about where the strongest wind is likely to occur, and this is our future cast showing areas over by the Front Range. We see Denver kind of over toward the bottom right here. I'll circle it for you to make it easy, but it's really right along the Continental Divide here, and especially on the east side of it where that strongest wind is really going to ramp up. There's 6 a.m. on Wednesday morning, and you see the wind is already kicking there along the Continental Divide and especially east toward those foothills just west of Denver. By midday on Wednesday, we have easily 40 to 60 mile per hour gusts ramping up, and they're with us through the afternoon. Here we are at 6 p.m. Wednesday. We'll keep going now to midnight. You see kind of some ups and downs, but at midnight, when that high wind warning is expected to expire, we still have 45 to 65 mile per hour gusts up in the hills, and some of this works its way west over toward Vail and even down toward Breckenridge and Granby and Estes Park as well. So this is midnight Thursday night again. We keep going through the morning on Thursday, and yes, the wind subsides a little bit, but we still have 35 to 70 mile per hour gusts on the map at 6 a.m. Thursday and 50 to 60 mile per hour gusts at midday on Thursday. It may be that high wind warning has to be extended to include at least Thursday, perhaps even Friday, because look, midnight Thursday night going into Friday morning, and even at 6 a.m. Friday morning, we still have some rather strong 50 to 60 mile per hour gusts on the map here. So as I say, that high wind warning may need to be extended through Thursday, and it may even have to include, at the very least, Friday morning. Along with this wind is a high fire risk. So there are red flag warnings in effect up and down the Front Range urban corridor. Those extend out into the southeastern plains from 11 a.m. Wednesday until 6 p.m. Wednesday night. And even though red flag criteria may not be met after 6 p.m. Wednesday night, I'll go ahead and tell you that high fire danger will continue as long as the wind is there, especially with this drier weather we've been experiencing. We can get some snow up in the high country too. The snowstorm that I'm tracking is all associated with this wind, by the way, but you see the little swirl off the coast of British Columbia there in the Pacific, and then all the rain and high elevation snow there in the Pacific Northwest. That's the storm system. So here we are, 6 a.m. on Wednesday, and here it comes. By about, say, 10, 11, 12 o'clock Wednesday, close to midday, we do have some areas of snow already beginning to show up, way up north. I'm talking on the Park Range and on the flat tops in far northern Colorado. Watch as this kind of backs off, though. And it's brief because it does come back. And by 6 p.m., the snow is a bit more widespread from the Park Range and the Flat Tops over toward the Front Range, the Mosquito Range even, and even up and down the Gore Range to the Sawatch Range, or at least parts of it. This is a little bit of a tricky drive, again, along Interstate 70 over Vail Pass, right by Copper Mountain, and then over toward the Continental Divide at the Eisenhower and Johnson Tunnels at 6 p.m. Wednesday. So this is a travel issue. It's not so much of a direct impact for us here on the western slope. By midnight, most of that snow winds down. There's still some snowy spots left, but even those are gone by the time the sun comes up. In fact, well before the time the sun comes up on Thursday. Now, most areas don't get a lot of snow. We're talking 1 to 4 inches on the high end, maybe a little bit more on the order of about 6 to 9 inches around Winter Park. But I do want to point out, you see the bullseyes of the pink and the purples here. Those are areas where perhaps more than a foot of snow can fall. That's going to be limited to some of the higher elevation areas, and I don't expect that that's going to be widespread, but I do want to point out that it's awfully close. This is Vail Pass over the interstate right here, and we do see some areas of that pink that I mentioned here just north here of the interstate where it crosses Vail Pass. So there may be some tricky spots, more so from about the Continental Divide east through Georgetown and Idaho Springs. That's where some of those those bigger snowfall totals are a possibility. So as I say, not a direct impact for us here on the western slope, but it does have the ability to be a significant travel impact for us, traveling from the western slope to the Front Range or from the Front Range to the western slope in the other direction, but it's mainly going to be in the mountains. And it's far more a wind issue than even a snow issue, but there are going to be some areas where the snow is most assuredly an issue. So that's the latest on this upcoming storm system. It doesn't mean much for a lot of the state, including here on the western slope, but it does mean something for travel through the mountains. And we'll be watching this for you. We'll let you know how things shake out. For now, just know that if you have travel plans, play it safe going through the mountains.